this is kind of a brief rundown of my process, right? I'll design some kind of a self-contained chaotic system that either processes incoming audio stream or, generates audio by itself in some way. Now, there are so many ways to do this. I'm not even going to get into the details of this, but you can look into like Ableton Bitwig, the Kilohertz suite, Snap Heap and Phaseplant are really good. VCV Rack are all very good. These are ones that I tend to go to more often than not. But there are so many other like options. You can get even deeper into it by doing like Max for Live stuff. There are so many options, right? And basically, to sum it up, it usually for me involves some kind of random LFOs, cross-modulating different parameters, and directing the audio stream in different ways randomly, and just seeing what comes out the other end. And lots of phasers. Phasers everywhere. I will record long stretches of output. I get lost in it. Honestly, I can hit record and 2 hours later I will press stop and I'll have a 2-hour session of just absolute chaos, and within that time I'll be like tweaking little parameters. If I'm at my modular rig, it'll be like little bits of patching here and there, just trying to gently guide the flow of audio and kind of, just go where inspiration takes me. And that's my next point. Trying not to limit myself to any specific goal, but it's also useful to have, a seed of an idea as a jumping off point, right? So it's not just completely, out of thin air. Maybe you have like this idea, oh, well, what if I modulated this parameter? Or, well, you get the idea, right? And then I try to add markers to remember points of interest, those kind of lightning in the bottle moments. That often doesn't happen, and usually I completely fail to integrate these recordings into my library in any useful way, because the output is just inherently uncategorizable. And let me get to the pros and cons, right? So the pros of this is it's just immensely fun, right? This kind of process is very freeing, particularly after a long day of really trying to achieve one specific goal. It is like, it's so much fun. It's essentially jamming, right? You are jamming as a sound designer. And it really, it's a real palate cleanser, as it were. It encourages you to explore new territories in sound design. Just throw the rule book out the window, do whatever you feel like, basically. And you end up with masses of new library material. The results can be unique, giving you like lots of happy accident material to add to your sound design. This is just, usually what I'll do is I'll try to categorize these recordings as best I can, usually by the date, the kind of a rough, kind of description of the process that was involved in making it. But beyond that, the output can be so chaotic and so random that there's no point in even trying to go further. You could probably snip out bits in here and there and say, okay, well, this is a gunshot sweetener, this is a bass drop, but it would just take all day. But usually I end up having like a mental picture of where I was and what I was doing at that moment, and I can go to that recording and think, oh yeah, I remember there was a bit at this section that I really enjoyed, and I'll go in there and I'll dip into it and say, oh yeah, this is the perfect UI sound for this particular this particular piece of sound design that I need to do. The cons, however, it just doesn't always produce usable results. You're jamming, and sometimes it's just not working, and what you come out with is just crap, right? And you have to live with that as well. The output can defy categorization. We kind of said that. It's very difficult to like be accurate about what you're give it accurate labels, I guess. And similarly, it's difficult for producing repeatable results. Not always the case, but depending on your process. But particularly with game audio, and like a lot of my mindset is targeting game audio. And if you want to have like variations on a single sound, this isn't always the best way to do it. And it can't generally be integrated into like a focused sound design workflow as well. Like, this is just procrastination central, right? It is a way of completely indulging in procrastination, but having fun too. So are the results of this approach inherently better? my theory is that probably not. I think probably I get far too into my own head and self-critical when I'm doing focused sound design, and it's easy to kind of lose perspective on it. And you need to go out and kind of ask other people to give you opinions. But I think for me, with this kind of process, the enjoyment of the process just outweighs its lack of efficiency, and I'm likely more drawn to the idea that like allowing serendipity or chaos to have some role in my process somehow makes the results more unique. And I think that is what it boils down to, adding a little bit of unique kind of fresh flavor to your humdrum sound design that you're doing, and just being able to draw from like a library of just random chaos. It really helps. But it's just the sugar and spice of sound design. You can treat it like a condiment. I think, yeah, I think that's basically all on this point. But talking about the idea of like relinquishing control of your creative output to some kind of external machine process,